Hi, welcome to my channel. On this channel I share my experience about planning my own wedding and also helping you guys to plan your wedding. Today I want to talk about wedding ceremony. So I should say that it was me who entirely organized the whole wedding ceremony, and by saying it I mean that we didn't hire, official register who would come and just do a ceremony for us. But I thought, or I dreamed about a more intimate and a more personal outdoor, in particular outdoor wedding ceremony, but it could be indoor, whenever you like it. So I asked my best friend to be our registrar, and I prepared for her the speech she learned and read during the wedding ceremony, because for me, I really wanted that the speech would be given by someone personal to me and not just by a random person who I don't know, even though it could sound more professional. Sometimes when it's more professional it could be less emotional. I started by that time investigated how I should structure actually the wedding ceremony, and when you think about it, you have to split it actually in different parts, and I'm going to talk about each of these parts. And depending, of course, on the mood of your ceremony or style of your wedding or theme, you could think of this or that particular music. But structuring the wedding ceremony itself helps actually also to think about the music that would accompany your ceremony in a more structured way, because you could imagine that it's not gonna be the same music or the same song for each part of the ceremony. So now let's just dive into the wedding ceremony structure and discuss step by step how I structured it and how would I recommend you to approach it. So it all begins with a welcoming speech of the registrar, and you could write just a few words about how fine the day today and how happy all we are, etc. And think about the music for this particular part, something that would naturally accompany the speech and the voice of the registrar. So it has to be comfortable for a person to talk and to welcome everyone to the wedding. So the music has to accompany this particular timbre or this particular voice. So after the welcoming speech, I would say the next part of the wedding ceremony is when groomsmen are walking down the aisle. In our particular case, we didn't have groomsmen during our wedding day and also bridesmaid, so we didn't have such a concept. But if you do and it's a tradition for you, then I would say second point, the groomsmen, they are walking down the aisle. And for them, you have also to think about a particular song that would highlight them. And it's always a good option or a good idea to ask your friends which song they like and how they would walk down the aisle, and to choose this song. But keep in mind that if you have a concept, and you should have a concept, right? Either it's a classic wedding in a classical style or you want something modern, all this segment has to be represented in the music you are choosing for your wedding ceremony, so that it's all aligned. Then as the next step in the wedding ceremony, it's of course bridesmaid. They're walking down the aisle, and for them you also want to select a music that would highlight them and welcome them to the special occasion. Again, the same as for groomsmen, you might want to ask your bridesmaid for their preferences in terms of songs, but keep in mind that it is aligned, as I mentioned before, with the concept in general, with the concept of your wedding day. Then, after groomsmen and bridesmaid are done, it's time for the groom to welcome the groom and for him to walk down the aisle. I have already a short, we'll link it here, with one of the options that I could propose you guys to consider. This is a song by Beatles, Here Comes the Sun, and I personally think it's a nice option to use for the groom while he's walking down the aisle. Unfortunately, I will not be able to include during this video examples of the music I would propose you to choose from. due to copyright issues. Just don't want to get banned by YouTube. But what I can do, if you want to get a list of recommendations from me with different music for particular parts of the wedding ceremony, just leave down the comment and I can prepare a list for each of the parts of the ceremony we are discussing today with my top 10 favorites of songs that I would recommend to choose from. Just leave down the comment if you need it. For the bride to walk down the aisle, for example, together with her father, I showed one example in the short that the song could be Canon D by Johann Pachelbel, also just as an inspiration for you to consider for your wedding day. For my particular case, for my wedding, we decided to go for live music, and if I recall, I can also provide you with the options we selected for our wedding day. I have them somewhere noted down, but again, if you want a wedding more in a classical style, then also just leave me a message and I can provide you with a list of the songs we choose for our wedding in particular. So when everyone is there, the main speech of the register begins, and normally it takes a couple of minutes, and again you have to think about a very comfortable and song or music used as a background for the register speech, so that it's comfortable for him or for her to give actually this talk, so that the music is not disturbing, so it's rather supportive for the speech and suits well the voice of the register. If you ask someone from your friends to do the speech, as I did, you should in advance inform the person which music is gonna be played as a background, so that she or he tried actually to give the speech with the background of this particular music and really felt this music, and the person then understands if it's comfortable or not to use this music as a background. Next step in my wedding ceremony is giving vows, and this is of course something optional, not for everyone probably, and I should say, speaking from experience, I didn't feel comfortable actually to give, very personal vows in front of family and friends, even though it was, as I mentioned, small intimate wedding of 15 guests. Nevertheless, although I wanted, some kind of extend a bit the ceremony to have such a performance, I decided to go for the following solution. I wrote basically vows for both of us, and it was just like one vows during the wedding ceremony, so that our register, our friend, would tell one line of this verse, and then me and my husband would repeat it. So giving a promise to each other. And that's what worked well for us. And maybe you could also get this as an idea. But think about, of course, another song or another music that would accompany you giving a vows. Next step is exchange of rings. Here, apart from the music, it's also important to mention, please, when you exchange the rings and your register would help you with it, so bringing these rings to you, think about that it happens from the right side, that the register approaches you, or that the rings are somewhere close to you, because when you do this exchange, your photographers, they want to capture this moment and not necessarily as the back of your register. So just think about how the register would be placed during this process. So if she would hold these rings, whoever helping you with the rings, just think about the position, so that on the pictures later on you just don't see the backs of the people, but also basically the process and how you exchange the rings themselves. And it's the same true for your guests. They don't want to steer at the back of the register, but they actually want to see how you exchange the rings, right? So we're almost done with the steps. There are just two to mention that I included in the wedding ceremony. And the next one is to declare a couple as husband and wife. And this is such an emotional moment, so you might want to think about music that would highlight this moment. Normally right after that, of course, the keys follows, and you could also highlight this moment not only with the music, but for example ask your guests in the front line to throw away some rose leaves, and that's also, you know, additionally highlight and emphasize the moment. The last step in my wedding ceremony program, is when your friends, relatives comes to you and congratulate you with a special occasion. For this, also think about of different musical background that would change the mood a bit from the ceremony to this congratulation part, and thus divide a bit the process in different phases. So I hope this video is gonna be helpful for you. I tried to explain how you could structure your wedding ceremony. Hope provided some food for thoughts in case you're organizing a wedding ceremony by yourself. And as I mentioned before, if you need the list of songs I personally recommend for each of these parts, just let me down in the comments and I will send you the link, or I will think how to share it. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, please. It's the best support for me. And we see each other in the new videos very soon. Bye bye.